Greetings, my name is Michael and this is a video response to Shadiversity's latest video discussing a hypothetical fight between a medieval knight and a dinosaur. Now Shad's video is quite lighthearted and mostly just for fun, but I'd figure I'd take this opportunity to shed some light about dinosaur biology and hopefully entertain this argument. So the premise of Shad's video is what would happen if a medieval knight were to face off against a relatively medium-sized theropod such as a Raptor. And I feel like the Raptor is being picked for this example because it is the closest animal that matches the Jurassic Park Velociraptor in terms of size. Please keep in mind that the term dinosaur is quite an umbrella term that encapsulates many different animals, including modern day birds. I reckon a medieval knight with a halberd trying to take on an Argentinosaurus would probably just end up being trampled to death. This gets even worse when you look at even more heavily armored herbivores like Ankylosaurus, for example. Here's the thing, when trying to put these two characters side by side, there's just a lot of context that needs to be added, mainly how such an encounter could even take place. Let's just say for the sake of argument that a medieval knight accidentally stepped on a time portal and went back in time to the early Cretaceous and found himself from medieval Europe to Cretaceous North America. Well, the first problem he has to deal with is a different climate, of course. Utahraptors, as the name suggests, come from modern-day Utah, which in the early Cretaceous was actually a floodplain, subject to very muddy terrain, luscious forests, and open grasslands. In all likelihood, the knight would find itself in a swamp-like area. Let's say the knight is wearing a 15th century suit of armor like this one. Well, one of the first difficulties would be having to overcome the reduced mobility in this environment. Now, the first issue that I have with Shad's video and the way that he assumes the raptor would attack this knight would be to assume that it would behave like a mammal, such as a bear or a lion. However, a Utahraptor would probably not even want to attack a human. And this leads back to the way their behavior has been portrayed in films such as Jurassic Park. You see, Jurassic Park has started this myth where Dromaeosauridae, and specifically Velociraptor, are portrayed like pursuit predators such as lions or cheetahs. However, this theory has since been discarded, as more recent studies have shown that they couldn't run as fast as we previously thought. Comparatively speaking, even a Velociraptor would not have been able to outrun an ostrich. But then again, they didn't need to, because that's not how they hunted. In all likelihood, raptors would have hunted smaller prey than themselves, and would team up together, not in organized wolf-like packs like we've been told, but rather temporary coalitions and alliances. Utahraptors were mostly solitary animals and filled an ecological niche very similar to that of a hawk or an eagle. So don't think of dromaeosaurs like two-legged cheetahs, but rather think of them as groundhogs. All known dromaeosaur species were completely covered in feathers. Many species also had asymmetric flight feathers, just like modern birds. And several paleontologists have suggested that many dromaeosaurs could actually glide between trees, if not fly in some cases. And in the case of Utahraptor specifically, he is not considered to be a specifically fast animal, so it wouldn't really try to run you down and attack you like a lion would. Instead, it was an ambush predator who would probably just pounce on you from a place that you couldn't see it from. It wouldn't try to go for your throat the way a lion would. It would rather try to be hidden from you and then jump on top of you. It wouldn't try to maul you with its teeth the way the bears do, because its teeth were not evolved for that. Another thing they wouldn't have done was trying to slash you with their claws on their hands. We think those claws were used for gripping onto larger prey or trees, which again supports the theory that when hunting larger prey, they would jump on top of it and tear chunks of flesh out. Now, one of the big advantages that the knight has in this case is his armor. Now, Shad compares the bite force of a Utahraptor to that of a crocodile. However, there's just no way the Utahraptor comes even close to a crocodile. I was unable to find a Utahraptor specific number for bite force, but crocodiles have a bite force of around 16,000 newtons. And for comparison, the T-Rex has an estimated bite force of 36,000 newtons. So yeah, I highly doubt that the Utahraptor will be able to penetrate the armor. The problem from the knight, if he gets pounced by a Utahraptor, is that now he has an animal that weighs about a ton on him. And keep in mind that Utahraptors were bipedal, meaning that the entire weight of the animal will be concentrated on a few little spots. Although it is likely that a knight would survive that, assuming that his spine doesn't get broken in the process. In all likelihood, if the dinosaur gets the drop on the human and tries to eat it but can't get his teeth into it because the armor is too strong, they'd probably just leave you off and go find a different prey, something easier to eat. You have to understand that real dinosaurs were not movie monsters. They didn't have an innate burning desire to kill humans. They'd behave like normal animals would. Predators very seldom try to attack a prey if they think their prey is too strong for them, unless they're completely desperate. Another thing Shad isn't considering is that dinosaurs were quite tough, and I mean that they weren't exactly easy to kill. If you think about it, in order to fatally wound any animal, you need to either damage some of its vital organs like lungs, liver, stomach, guts, etc., or cut a vein or an artery and let it bleed to death. Well, as it turns out, it might actually not have been as easy to hit some of these vital organs on dinosaurs. Now, some of you might be familiar with the Australian Emu War. In 1932, essentially the Australian farmers decided to wage a war on emus. They got a bunch of machine guns and other weapons from the government and the army and went ahead and started shooting the birds. What they didn't know at the time was how emus worked. Basically, they are very large birds that have very small organs compared to their body size, meaning that it often took up to 50 bullets to bring one down, simply because the bullets that kept hitting them didn't hit any vital organs and would only damage muscles, causing small wounds.
Well, enough, eh? Look, you stupid bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. Look! It's just a flesh wound.
Now, as of today, we don't have many ways of knowing with 100% certainty the exact size of major internal organs, but we can get a rough idea based upon studying what was actually attached to the bones. It is not an illogical assumption to think that dinosaurs would have had comparatively smaller organs compared to their overall body size. For example, sauropods laid down very small eggs, and yet were extremely large animals. And now this is purely speculative, but if this hypothesis were to be correct, it would probably take a while before the animal is actually killed or incapacitated by just simple wounds. And we also have all the fossil records. Nearly every theropod we found has had severe injuries from which they recovered. Dinosaurs were very well used to having broken bones, lacerations, cuts, and everything in between. Reptiles, for instance, are extremely resistant to infections, and this is due to how their blood is different from mammals. Overall, dinosaurs could handle quite a lot of physical punishment, so yeah, you probably would need more than one axe blow to kill it. Now, the greatest weapon that a knight would have against a dinosaur would simply be his human intelligence, which leads me to my next topic regarding the intelligence of dinosaurs, specifically theropods and specifically Utahraptor. Now, here's the issue. Jurassic Park, ever since the first film, pretty much started the whole Velociraptor meme, with the idea that Velociraptors are the second most intelligent species on the planet, or that they were as smart as primates. And truthfully, no, the evidence that we have does not suggest this level of intelligence. However, I wouldn't go as far as calling all dinosaurs dumb. Now, yes, of course, dinosaurs were animals, and even the smartest of them didn't get anywhere near close humans, but that's not to say that they were completely inferior to modern animals. Now, here is the base-bone truth. We do not know, and we currently cannot know, exactly how intelligent an extinct animal was, simply because the brain does not preserve in the fossil record. Now, for a very long time, scientists have measured the intelligence of animals by comparing their brain size to their body size. However, recent studies on the brain has shown that that's not all that matters. Scientists and researchers have carried out several tests on modern-day dinosaurs, birds, more specifically corvids, and especially the New Caledonian crow, which is considered to be the smartest of all birds, and through tests and experiments has demonstrated a level of intelligence and cognitive thought similar to that of a 7-year-old human. And this is mind-boggling. This is way smarter than we ever thought a bird could ever be. And now here's the thing, this kinds of tests can only be done on a living animal. If all we had to study crows were their bones, we probably would never come to this conclusion. Meaning that whilst for the longest time we thought of dinosaurs as not particularly intelligent, we might actually be wrong about it, simply because we have no certain way of knowing for sure. In all likelihood, you can expect, especially from theropods, a very bird-like level of intelligence. There's actually some more recent studies and current research being done to try and understand more about the level of intelligence that dinosaurs had. Particularly, I'd like to point out the work of Dr. Amy Balanoff, who is conducting research on T-Rex skulls. Actually postulates that a T-Rex could have been as intelligent as a chimpanzee, which is far more intelligence than we never thought was possible from dinosaurs. Now, would Velociraptors or Utahraptors have been able to figure out how to open doors like in Jurassic Park? Most likely not. However, that doesn't mean that all theropods were just mindless turkeys, or that they would have just mindlessly launched themselves into dangers with no sense of self-preservation. So yeah, dinosaurs were not particularly stupid. They were as intelligent as they needed to be. And simply because they wouldn't form complex social structures the way that wolves do and other kind of mammals do, it doesn't mean that they were incapable of intelligence and logical thought. Crows were never thought of particularly intelligent animals until studies have shown otherwise. So when you apply this to a Utahraptor, you should probably think of its level of intelligence as being that of a hawk or an eagle. Yes, obviously not able to outsmart a human, but definitely not stupid. So would it be possible for a knight to kill a Utahraptor? Yes, absolutely. Humans have been responsible for the extinction through hunting of many other species. If humans lived alongside non-avian dinosaurs, they wouldn't be any different. So the dynamics of how this hypothetical fight would work out would largely depend on who spots the other one first. If the knight sees the raptor beforehand and is ready for it, then he'd likely strike a blow, and the raptor would end up retreating. Simply put, you can assume that a raptor would be intelligent enough to retreat and avoid the risk of being further injured. Again, this is a simple behavior that nearly every animal exhibits, but if the raptor successfully pulls off a surprise attack, as it is far more inclined to do, I still think the knight would survive, assuming he doesn't drown in the environment, and his armor is able to protect him enough from the weight of the animal. If I remember well, and I might be wrong on this, at the Battle of Agincourt there has been several knights that have died due to suffocation because of the amount of people and bodies that were piling up. Now, an adult Utahraptor could weigh up to 1,000 kilograms, which is a lot, and I don't know if that's enough to suffocate someone wearing armor. So if the knight can survive all that weight on top of him, then he probably would survive the encounter. And I don't think he would end up being eaten, simply because the raptor would not be able to go through the armor and would just give up and try to find something else to eat. However, if the knight decides to remove the armor, simply because the environment maybe is too warm, maybe it's too muddy, maybe can't move very well enough, then no, there's no chance. As soon as the thing drops on top of you, you're dead. Overall, this was a very fun thought experiment to go through, and I hope I have shed some more light about some of the lesser known facts about dinosaurs, especially theropods and dromaeosaurs in particular. Keep in mind that our understanding of extinct animals constantly changes and evolves. As we uncover new fossils and new research is being done, we understand a lot more about these animals, which means that a lot of the knowledge from a few years ago right now is already very outdated, and at any time we can find a whole new fossils or a new skeleton or something else, a new piece of evidence that recontextualizes everything and completely changes our mind on how these animals lived.